So moving on to the next question. This one I wanted to get more into like your background because you formerly served as a military police officer. Is that right?
That is correct. I spent 4.5 years in the United States Air Force, and long story short, I was 15 years old. I was living in Northern California where I grew up,
Yeah.
and out riding my bicycle like I did every day. And I was a paper boy.
Oh, okay.
I delivered the paper every day, and so I read the paper. I've always read the paper since I was a kid. And so anyway, long story short, I had read about a armed robbery that had occurred in town.
Oh, really?
And I just happened to be riding my bicycle past that same place, and I saw something that looked really suspicious. And sure as heck, they were being robbed again.
Wow.
And so I followed the guy, got a description of him, got a description of his vehicle, went back to the location, and asked the girl, "Did you just get robbed?" You know, she's crying. She's on the phone. She's like, "Oh, yeah." And I said, "Okay." And just then I hear the screeching. I look up, and there's a California Highway Patrol car, and it's in a broadside skid, and it is flying into the parking lot. And the guy jumps out of the patrol car, and he's got a gun about this big, and he comes running into the store. He goes, I said, "Hey, the guy that robbed the place, he just went up that way. That's here's the description." Jumps in his car, and he takes off.
Oh, wow.
And,
So you had your own little investigation going.
So he takes off after the guy, and a couple minutes later, the local police show up, and then the detectives show up, and they take me down to the police station. And about an hour later, the guy that robbed the place got caught by another highway patrolman quite a ways away in another county, and based off the description that I had given. So
wow.
I went to court, did all that, and I was just enchanted. And the highway patrolmen that were involved in that case they just impressed me.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I want to be a California Highway Patrolman. And this was like 1974, 75-ish. Okay. And so after high school, I joined the United States Air Force, and I signed up to be a military policeman. They call it security police at that time in the Air Force, and now it's called security forces, but in those days it was called security police. So I could be a police officer in the Air Force and start to build up my background so I could get on the highway patrol. And after 4 years, my term of enlistment was up, but the highway patrol wasn't testing at that time.
Yeah.
So I had extended my active duty time for another 6 months. And during that 6-month period, there was a test for the highway patrol. So I tested, and then when my 6 months was up, that's why I have 4 years and 6 months instead of just 4 years.
Yeah.
And so I tested for the highway patrol, and lo and behold, they hired me. And awesome. They must have made a mistake somewhere.
Somewhere along the line.
Somewhere along the line. So, so I became a California Highway Patrolman. I worked in Northern California, and I had a really, really cool career. I got to do some really neat stuff, and worked my way up, and eventually it culminated 30 years later as the commander of the office out here in Needles.